Sup, everybody? Sup, Carrie and Rebecca?
Up, everyone.
Oh, man. So how are you guys feeling this evening with where we're at? Are you here, or here?
Feeling pretty good about here for me.
Feeling pretty good. I saw Carrie.
How about you, Matthew?
Oh, I'm feeling great. I've been riding the Zoom train all day, so what a better way to end the day than to finish my trip on the Zoom train with you guys. I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest.
Are you calling us the caboose
Ooh.
to your day or something else?
The party's back there and the food cart, like.
Yeah, no, not the caboose. More the dining car. I think that would be
Dining car, yeah.
the dining car. Yeah.
So I'm actually going to be on Zoom for the next 3 days doing some of what you've been doing, I think. And I'm wondering if last week we looked at those cards and, those in the moment support cards. Could you maybe give us an encourage? I got to wake up super early, and you know that is not my jam.
So some encouragement.
So I can take a little encouragement for tomorrow morning.
Okay, so encouragement.
Okay. And I got my cards too.
Ooh, you got your cards too. Okay, all right. So the encouragement I got was nobody gets to rehearse this kind of stuff.
Ooh. Nobody gets to rehearse this kind of stuff. So as we welcome our guest Judy on, I'm curious, what does that encouragement card mean to you guys?
Maybe in your instance of waking up early and doing something, you can't really rehearse getting up early and being okay with it. It's just something you have to roll with. Maybe.
Yeah, every day is new. So you can plan all you want, but something's going to come in there and go, take you off track. You're like, I didn't think about that. I didn't rehearse.
That never happens at PAC.
That never happens. We never have technical issues with Zoom or website or ordering.
No, absolutely not. So, so thank you for that. That was, I think I'm a processor, as you guys know, so I'm going to process that one on a little bit of different levels. Shocking, I'm sure, for you guys. So I'm going to start processing our highlighted guest tonight, Judy Cleary. If you can come on screen, and welcome to SUP, Judy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Judy, we're so glad you're here, and it was such a fun and kind of unusual way that we connected. I was actually doing the group recertification very early on a Tuesday morning PAC group research, and got to meet you, got to connect with you. And as I laughingly said to my colleagues, I popped the question, not the normal question that you might think of when you hear that expression, but I popped a question, and that was, would you ever consider coming on Straight Up Positive? And you said yes, so you're here. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So tell our viewers a little bit about you and what you're doing these days.
Okay, a little bit about me is I actually started out my career in the industry working as an activity assistant in a nursing home way back in 1988. And within 2 weeks, I had fallen in love with working with the elderly, and I really loved it. Sort of changed my career path. Worked as an activity assistant while I worked toward my certification as a director for a few years, and then became an activity director. So that was sort of my first career, and I worked in that field for 18 years. And then I moved into the field of administration, where I became an assisted living administrator. And I did that for about 12 more years. And that leads me to the ripe old age that I am now. Uh, and
So
so,
you started 18 years of activities and
yes.
then took a pretty different turn and decided you wanted to work in the administrative office, huh?
I didn't really think I wanted to, but I kept getting encouraged to do so. And so I was like, what the heck? So I did. Um, but I always still had a big passion for activities and for what we can do to, bring some moments of joy to the lives of our elders. And so I felt like in my role as an administrator, I could still really support and grow the activity programs. So I still got to do that a little bit.
And
But
anyone
about
that's worked in community knows you kind of wear a bunch of different hats. So you
many different
probably
hats.
served food a couple of times and maybe did some cleanup.
Right, right. Well, actually, it's the activity director, I feel like, that wears the most hats most of the time, besides, of course, the nursing assistants who wear a lot of hats from hour to hour. But about a year ago, actually, about 2 years ago, I decided that I wanted to move away from administration and spend time on what brought me the most joy, which was training. And since I had really wanted to promote the positive approach to care with my own staff, and that's why I became certified, um, I thought that maybe I would start my own business as a consultant and do training and education to other assisted living communities. So I resigned
Cool.
my job and started that business, and then COVID hit. So
So let's back up a minute. So I heard you say you started with finding out about this TIPA Snow Lady, and you decided to get PAC certified as a PAC certified independent trainer, and originally took that back to your staff,
right.
and then decided, you know what, I want to have a different reach. So started your business, and the name of your business is
Cleary's Consulting, very original.
Clary's Consulting. And so tell us what you're up to these days. So yes, COVID came into our lives and that changed a little bit your trajectory, but you've been staying busy, I think, right?
Yes, I have. So when I first started my business, actually the company I had been the administrator for hired me to keep coming in once a month and do an all-day PAC training. So that was great. So what we did is we continued to train any incoming staff, and any staff who we felt like could use a little refresher would come to the all-day training, and I would do the workshops, A, B, and C. And so sometimes I couldn't even fit them all into one day, actually, because they're so great. Um, and then I was unable to continue going into communities because of COVID, because they're not allowed to have visitors. So thankfully, another former boss of mine, where I had worked for him as an administrator for 7 years, had started a business where they were managing 6 assisted living communities. And so he actually hired me on as a consultant to do some training for the staff of those communities, and some other assignments as well, of course. And as time went on, we just decided that I would just take on more of a full-time role with that company as the regional executive director. And so even though some of what I do is other types of logistical training and policy writing and things like that, I'm still able to do quite a bit of dementia training and activity program training with the staff of the 6 communities. And I also still do training on the side for, other people. And, I've learned the world of Zoom. So now I'm doing Zoom trainings.
Yes, haven't we all?
I have
So
never done a PAC Zoom training. I haven't been brave enough to do that yet.
Oh, well, we could certainly give you some pointers on our Friday open sessions if you ever want to talk more about that. Man, so even though COVID kind of hit this a bit of a speed bump, the relationships, and a lot of times in PAC we talk about relationships. the relationships that you had developed over the years really helped kind of provide the support that you needed now to keep getting your message out there and keep getting that PAC message out there. Is that accurate?
Thank goodness. Yes, that is very accurate. So what I'm able to do now is I go and do site visits at the communities, and I always try to spend some time in the areas where, you know, the memory care services are provided. And I'm able to sit and observe and kind of watch things, and then work with the staff on, you know, some things I saw and maybe some different techniques, and, you know, kind of remind them of some things that we learned in our PAC training, and some things that they've learned from, you know, all the TIPA snow that we've encouraged our folks to watch, and, you know, just suggested some different alternative techniques. Really, my goal is usually to have them look at the situation from the perspective of the resident.
Nice. So you're saying that observation piece and then diving in with a little bit more of awareness and skills about, well, what might better support everybody in this situation, not just the person living with dementia, although that's obviously our goal, but also to make the care partners day go a little bit more smoothly. So I'm curious if you have any specific examples of how your practice or the organizations with which you work have seen culture change with these PAC skills.
For sure. You know, just as an example, sometimes it'll just be about how we present the day to our residents, how we structure the day around their strengths and weaknesses, or even how we arrange the seating. So that's an example that I think I was telling you about when we spoke earlier. Is I was in one of the communities, and it was very noisy and very loud, and there was a lot going on in kind of three different areas that were all audible and visible to everyone. And they were telling me that, you know, it's just so hard to engage the residents, you know, and I invited the team member who was talking to me to close her eyes and to just be in the moment as if she was a resident sitting on a couch there. And, you know, I tried a little AELC, and I said, you know, tell me about what you're hearing right now. And she talked about how noisy it was and how the sounds were very confusing, and she couldn't even really tell what some of the sounds were. And then I said, you know, let's talk about what that might feel like if you also have cognitive loss and you're not really even sure where you are. And so we kind of worked through, you know, what might be a better situation to present to our residents. And, you know, then we actually worked on a new room arrangement to try in that environment. So it was kind of a nice experience to actually, you know, try AELC in the moment.
Yes. So something that adult experiential learning cycle that we use as a foundation of our PAC training is really asking and getting that feedback of what would it feel like. And you said that you like to really put staff in the place of someone living with dementia, and no better way to do that than to just in that moment have them take a seat and describe that. I love that. Really taking the moment, Judy, to really letting the person experience that. That's really cool. And so when that happens, how do you feel that's different than maybe just going in and saying, well, if you tried this, and this with the environment, maybe it would be better? What's the difference or the advantage of actually stepping into the experience as someone living with brain change, do you think?
I feel like, actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because I feel like I do the opposite too often. So I really am working on my skills there. Um, I feel like it's, you know, it's harder to actually believe in what we're being told if we can't feel what it would mean to us. And so the technique of experiencing the feeling of that, and presenting like how this feels and thinking about how I could make this better, makes me the problem solver. And
Mhm.
instead of just being told this is something you should do, I can really understand the reason behind it. And it almost makes me want to try it more, because I can see how that would feel. that's kind of what I
Right.
like about it the most.
Yeah, so that really empowering the person to come up with a solution that if they were in that situation, they would want for themselves. So now we can connect that to how can we better support our residents. Yeah, so that's so cool. Such a great example. And I'm wondering, there was so you talked about that change of environment, and did we talk about the lady with her eyes closed?
Well, kind of, yeah. So that one was kind of the same thing. I was sitting in, at a dining room table. I just wanted to be around the residents, and I was just auditing a chart or something like that. So it was easy for me to blend into the background if I was busy doing something else. And I noticed that the staff led a resident over to a couch and sat her in front of a television. And the television was kind of, a game show or some commercials and things like that. And I noticed that as the team member walked away, the resident, I was behind her, so I couldn't really see what was going on. I had to scoot over a little bit, but she was not engaged with the television. After about 10 minutes, I noticed that she had closed her eyes and she was actually sitting there with her head down and her eyes closed. She was still moving around and getting comfortable and things, so it didn't seem like she was asleep. And so, again, I just used that opportunity to talk to the team about the fact that, if I'm not engaging with this television, and even talked a little bit about the dimensional perception of television, bringing this resident and seating her here, how would you feel if you had a visual deficit and had a lack of understanding, and there's noise going on in the background, and now this is your world, your only vision is this noisy thing that you don't understand, and trying to help the staff work through some solutions of maybe a better way to engage that resident, or even to help her relax rather than to have her seated in that maybe possibly uncomfortable environment.
So you noticed that it wasn't that she was sleeping, because someone might notice that, okay, her eyes were closed, but you could tell by her movement and such that she wasn't actually sleeping, but there was something that she was telling us. If we were listening and looking through, PAC problem solving kind of eyes, to say, she's telling us something with those eyes being closed. This isn't working for her right now.
Right. Yeah. It's
Okay,
almost
so
like her eyes being closed could have been telling us, this is too much for me. What you're giving me is too much. I need to go away from it. So, those are the kind of things I'm trying to work on, my skills of noticing things and then helping the staff to kind of notice it for themselves and think about some alternatives.
yeah. So thinking about that, noticing for yourself, you want your staff to notice for yourself, and part of being a trainer, and especially a PAC trainer, is knowing who you are too and what you bring to the equation. And I remember when we chatted, you talked about some ahas that you had at the certification course, really related to that personality traits and learning styles that we go over. Can you share that with our viewers?
Sure. Well, going to the certification program, it's 2 days, and there was a lot that we learned that I didn't expect, and part of it was that the personality traits and the learning style was not something that I expected to be part of the training. I thought the training was going to be a bunch of facts and then how to spit those facts back out to a bunch of other people, and really what we learned first was what our personality style is, and then to be aware that everyone else has their own personality style, what my learning style is, and then, to be aware that everyone else has their own learning style. And the funniest thing is, when I first saw the keywords of the personality traits cards, I thought, oh, I'm going to be this, this, and this. And then when I actually delved into it a little bit, I realized I wasn't who I thought I am, or I wasn't who I thought I was, because, I thought I was an extrovert. I'm not, I'm an introvert, things like that. So you kind of realize that everyone's personality is so important as far as how they're going to perceive things, but also how we're going to learn things, and what things are going to be difficult for us and what things are going to come really easily to us.
Yeah, so that recognizing, I love what you said, is I'm not who I thought I was. And so that evolution of yourself, and alongside this evolution of your skills as a trainer. And part of that too was, and we keep using the acronym, the AELC. Um, how was that different than maybe how you were training in the past? Were you using questions, or were you more doing that kind of teaching and telling?
I'm very much, I still am, I struggle with it. Thank goodness for these videos and these sessions that are available on YouTube, because it really helps me so much. But I'm very much a teller. I just feel like I'm just so full of knowledge and facts, aren't we all? And I should just spit them out to everyone else so that they can also be full of these knowledge and facts. And it's not the best style, as I've learned. I mean, the whole reason I was drawn to Teepa is because of her teaching style. I really need to work on changing my style to really think about bringing AELC into what I'm working on. But I think I made it so big that I made, what you do and like who, how, what, where, I made it so big that it started getting uncomfortable for me. I almost felt like I was rehearsing a script. So I really had to watch videos of other people doing it and then, realize, oh, this is just actually almost like a natural conversation of a thought process. This isn't so hard. I was making it so hard, and it's not. If I could just stop talking for long enough to have them work through the whole process.
Yeah, once you get that comfort level, it really makes sense. And I think I commiserated with you that when I first went for trainer in 2015, I had a similar experience. Like, I made it way bigger than it was. And just really that clicking of, this is just a natural progression of the conversation, and trusting the process. It's always fun to see new trainers come to the courses and like take that look behind the window or peek behind the curtain to say, oh, that's what Teepa's doing. That's what the PAC team's doing. And I think you just AELC'd me.
Yeah.
And you know what, Judy, I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit, because you talked about that on the floor one-on-one kind of coaching where you were doing just that. It's just in an informal, like comfortable way versus, doing it in front of a large group of people.
Right. And that's the part that I still need to work on is, when I'm doing a presentation in front of 25 people, I feel like I have so much I have to say in a short amount of time that I don't realize that the process of working through the discoveries is so much more important than a bunch of facts, that you have to build in the time for it. And that's the part that's sometimes hard as a trainer, is you just have this agenda, use that word, and
Yes.
you want to, you want to work your agenda, but we really have to think about our learners too. So I'm working on it.
So that's such a great point, because I think I do the same thing as a trainer, that I want to like chalk a bunch of objectives into one. And so you're familiar with workshop A, B, and C, and I'm going to put you on the spot here for a second. I don't know how recently you've done A, but do you recall how many learning objectives we do in A?
No, I don't.
So for the whole 2 hours scripted workshop that we get when we become a PAC certified independent trainer, 2 hours meets 3 learning objectives.
I was going to say 4, only 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So what does that tell us about, do we want really those people to walk away with 3 really strong understandings of new awareness or skills, or do we want to throw a bunch of information at them that, well, maybe some of it sticks and maybe some of it doesn't?
Right.
I am so with you in that, girl.
So it's
nice. So
it's a work in progress.
Oh, you mean, so you paid money to get PAC certified, and you've been PAC certified for years, and you're not like master level trainer yet?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Actually, I feel like as a trainer, as a PAC trainer, I really need to frequently watch videos, YouTube videos, podcasts, old Teepa Snow videos. It's just a typical teaching style, and it's always going to be work in progress. Becoming a PAC trainer was only step one. There are still more steps to go.
That I think is one of the most challenging things, is why I'm kind of triggering it a little bit with you, Judy. I appreciate your vulnerability and your sensitivity to this topic, because I think a lot of folks come to our courses and they think, I'm going to walk away, or maybe their administrators or their leadership think they're going to come back from this course and they're going to be like master. And that's not the case. I mean, I've been a PAC trainer for 5 years, and I think I teeter between proficient and accomplished. I mean, I look at Teepa and I go, I'm so far from that skill level. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's something that I think we can all hear and let it absorb a little bit more.
Actually, when I got to the training, I thought I was already a good trainer. And then I realized I wasn't. So I was just a good talker.
Well, you were a really good talker. And do you think someone learned from some of your talking? Probably.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a different way, right?
Sure, yeah. But learning about dementia care, you have to learn with your heart and with your head. And I think that I was teaching the head, and the PAC way teaches the heart as well, in my opinion.
I like that. I think we might need to make a soundbite out of that. Because each person that we work with is different and we're always learning. So it has to be that balance of head and heart to come in with our ideas, or maybe a little bit of an agenda, but also be flexible in the moment and be able to go with the flow, right? Oh my goodness, it's a lot. And I think some of my greatest teachers are what other people might consider our biggest challenges, because it gives us this opportunity to learn together. Together. So important. You mentioned when we chatted previously about a tool that you said you use a lot, and in fact you buy it. I'm reaching for mine in my drawer. You actually used it as a prize for some of your staff. So can you talk to us about these PAC skill cards?
Yes. First of all, I realize it's getting dark while we're talking, so I'm going to turn my light on.
Perfect.
So the PAC skill cards, I just actually found them on the teepasnow.com website, and I thought, oh, those look interesting, because you get the PAC cards when you go to the certification training, and to me they were such gems that I actually wrote my name on every PAC because I didn't want to lose them, and I still keep them in the little blue bag that they came in. They're so meaningful to me, and I wanted to use them at work when we opened a new building that had a beautiful memory care neighborhood, and I wanted to carry them around and utilize them in the moment, but I was afraid I was going to misplace them or lose them. So when I found this little kit, I was so excited. So I actually ordered about 20 of them, and I kept one attached to me, and then I could just pull it out, because sometimes I actually had to use them to help myself, to coach in the moment. Let me see how I can, present this idea. But I also did give them as prizes sometimes to team members, but also sometimes I would not give them as prizes. I would give them as a tool for someone who needed a little bit of help with figuring out in the moment a new way of approaching things, because some caregivers have their old tried and true techniques that we just use over and over again, even though they usually don't work. And so I just feel like those are so handy.
Yes, it is a great tool, and literally you can just clip it right on your clothing and have it anywhere you go. And I love that it goes through not only the gems, and you did a little play on words. I caught that. I don't know if you did that on purpose, but you said this is a gem. Kind of funny.
Oh, yes.
So it goes through the gems, but also talking about environments and unmet needs and visual verbal touch cues. So really, like, this little packet has a lot of information that you can really use in the moment. And it's portable, it can go anywhere with you. So what a great tool. And I'm like you, I typically take it wherever I go. And fun that you used it as a prize and that it was a desirable prize. I think Carrie's going to put the link to the store for anyone that's wanting to learn more about those skill cards. So as we wrap up, I'm curious, Judy, and you're going to stay on, I think, maybe with us, because we have my co-hosts, Carrie and Matthew, are going to run us through a little AELC tonight, I think. So we keep talking about that adult experiential learning cycle. So everyone's going to get to experience that. But I'm curious, as they prepare to come on, is there any advice that you would give to someone that's considering taking this next step to, maybe I'm a really good talker, teller, trainer, but I want to do it. I want to enhance my skills. I want to do it a little bit differently, a little bit better. I want to be more like that Teepa Snow lady. Advice for someone considering a certification or maybe a champion day or anything with PAC?
Well, as far as certification goes, I guess really, or a champion day, I think part of it is about not deciding what that's going to look like before you go. Because I thought it was going to be almost like a scripted class and we were going to be handed it and then practice giving it and leave. But it was a lot more about learning about ourselves and learning about the styles and personalities of other people and ways that our brains work and ways that we are able to, take away information. And so, I would say that it really enhances who you are as a staff, if you work in a building, or as a trainer, or even as a caregiver. But, continue to stay in touch with PAC. I think that, the YouTube videos, the podcasts, things like that, every single one I watch, I feel like I learned something from. So it doesn't end when you walk away from the training. That's my biggest advice, is that just means you have a certificate, but you're going to continue to evolve as a person the more that you spend time witnessing other people using the same techniques.
Yeah, I thank you for that, Judy, because it really is. I mean, we really want this to be a PAC community, and that's why we call it the certified community, because we want folks to stay in touch and continue growing skills. And I repeat myself because I know I've said this on SUP before, but Teepa talks about we're either moving this way or moving this way. Very rarely do we stay just stagnant. And so kind of pushing each other and growing together is really what we want this PAC community to be about, because at the end of the day, all of our ultimate goal is supporting folks living with brain change. And that takes growth and skills and awareness. So thank you for coming on SUP and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome, friends.
Hello, welcome. Yeah, welcome, Carrie. Carrie, so you're joining us this evening and running us through this AELC. And I love, Judy was talking about that part of us as a PAC community, building that relationship that's based on curiosity, that ability for us to keep growing. And then that compassion, right? Having that understanding and wanting to be involved in that particular connection with that person that's authentic. And then also to empower folks to do so much more and to continue to grow. So that was such an awesome reminder. And I was using my cards here to go over those core values. And that is such a great tool. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Judy.
You're welcome.
So Carrie,
Yes,
you and I have been working together on quite a few things, not just only SUP, but we actually work on Ask Teepa Anything.
You guys are having fun without me? Is that what you're saying?
we do. We were well acquainted before SUP started happening. We were on Ask Teepa Anything. Last year, I started taking over from Corey as she's moving out of her position, relinquishing tasks and things. And then this year, TIPA added a new event, monthly event, along with Ask TIPA Anything, and that was the problem solving with the PAC team. And this has been like a new exploration for us as a team. So it's been fun working with you. And I know that a lot of our, even our staff and our viewers are like, what's the difference between Ask TIPA Anything and the problem solving with PAC? So let's see, I'm gonna, I'm gonna share my screen. I have too many screens. This is the problem now. So I have to move what I'm looking at. So I'm gonna be constantly looking this way. All right, I'm gonna share my screen and just show you guys.
I just have to say thank you to Carrie, because Carrie really likes to be behind the scenes. And this is not a super fun place for her, but we're so excited. So thank you. And just like take a deep breath, and we are going to learn tonight from what you have to offer. So deep breaths. Here we go.
Well, just like you, Judy, when I joined PAC, I thought I was a pretty good trainer. And then I was like, Okay, so our Ask TIPA Anything, what do you notice? Judy, have you ever watched any of our free events on social media?
I have. I usually watch them after.
Right.
I don't watch them live because there's so much going on at that time of day for me. So I poke around and just see a topic I like and watch it.
Right. Yeah, so that's awesome. So both of these events are recorded so that if you miss it in the moment, you can come back and watch them anytime, and you can play
love
them
that.
over and over again so you get that morsel that you need to help in your situations. And in both these, Tipa is very generous to offer her time, especially out here, and ask questions. So I'll stop my share. Let's have a conversation. So, Matthew, what have you noticed different as we're going through both Ask TIPA Anything and the problem solving? Like, you're usually out there monitoring the live chat, so you're not so much in the room with us, but you're like that, going in two different directions there. What do you notice is different between the two events?
Well, definitely digging in deeper to a particular person's situation. It was just so hard to do that on Ask TIPA Anything, because it was such a kind of a broad ask of, hey, throw something out for TIPA. And so giving that audience more of the, here's something that could work for many situations on Ask TIPA Anything. But then that dementia problem solvers with the PAC team gives us that, okay, now here's somebody who has a very unique situation. And we want to really get into that and see some things that we could come up with that they could try, and that other folks out there who are maybe going through some similar situations could try as well. But it's still that digging deeper piece that I notice is different.
Yeah. So one of the things that I noticed is the pace. Like you said, there's so much going on in Ask TIPA Anything, and we're just taking all these questions in the moment. We're getting questions beforehand. We're getting questions in the Zoom room, in the chat. And then we have this team on Ask TIPA Anything kind of answering and doing a little bit of a consultative cycle with them. And then we present a little bit to TIPA, and she can take it and run and give us some more answers. And that's a lot. That's so much to do. And TIPA's great at it. So, we don't notice. All of us are running around like crazy and, trying to keep up with that. So the problem solving, like you said, it's a little bit deeper, and we use some time. We try to meet, the team of mentors tries to meet and do a consultative approach with a person, so that we have just like 3 or 5 people that we're able to dig a little bit deeper. And almost everybody who's watching is like, this still applies to. I could see where, oh yeah, and we bring up a lot of different aspects and perspectives that we can get from the team in solving issues. And then I'm going to just show my screen again. So one of the things that I noticed as in editing the video is that Deepa uses this great little model, and I love a good little model. So the 6 pieces of the puzzle, I noticed as I was editing my first clip, which I'll show you guys in a second, really gives us a way to explore almost every problem that we encounter. And I mean, even problems with your kids or people who don't have a dementia diagnosis, just anything. So what do you guys notice about this model? Can you see the model? Yes, great. I'm glad that I wasn't showing you us. What do you guys notice about this model? I think there's something that just sticks out that's really relevant.
I'm noticing how, especially with the puzzle pieces, how it gives you this feeling of when you're working with somebody who's living with brain change, it isn't just about one thing. There's many parts that go to this. There's many things that go into helping somebody living with brain change or the care of. And that's kind of how I see those puzzle pieces coming together to make this beautiful collage of color.
Right.
I'm noticing too that it's like, I mean, there's so many different elements. Like, I wish there was just like an answer, like do A, B, and C and everything's perfect. But I mean, there's so many elements here. 6 pieces of that puzzle that make each situation unique and uniquely complex sometimes.
Right. Do you notice anything, Judy?
I noticed that the person is in the forefront and the center.
Yes. And I mean, I'm also a design person. So this is just so elegantly designed to show you that person kind of comes first. We're like looking at that person first centered care. And just about everything that we can do is going to be either what is happening within the person or how we can change what we're interacting or how we're interacting with that person or that person is interacting with us and the environment. Excellent. I love it. Okay, so then this is the clip that I'm going to show you. This is our dementia problem solving. I want to go home. So back in, let's see. This was from back in February. What did I do? I'm so sorry. Okay. A little confusing. Okay, so back in February, we've had 3 events so far, and 2 events are available. The recordings are available. It's just like Ask Deepa Anything, so we go back and forth between YouTube and Facebook. So our February event was on Facebook, and I'll put that clip or the link into the chat when we're done. I can't do that many things all at once, guys. We had 3 people on, I think. Yes, 3 people in February. And one was Lori. Lori was a professional that worked in memory care. And she brought an issue to us about one of the residents that she was working with. We also had Nadine, who was working, was the care partner for her mother, but she's a long distance care partner. So there were things happening with Nadine that she needed help with. And Kim also joined us, and her dad is still working, but has some brain change. And they were noticing issues with some financial decisions she was making. So all these are just very unique, but somebody out there also is seeing some of these issues. So let's see, we'll set up this story and I will share my screen again. Okay, so I actually. All right, so this is Lori. Let me.
Don't know what happened. And then all
Okay.
of a sudden, she just shakes and she follows you and explains the situation over
Okay.
and over. And when she's like that, it's like we've told her up front, you know, this is your home now. Your home's not
Okay.
there anymore. She doesn't believe us. She also wouldn't remember, but
Right. Okay.
we can have her circling us for 8 hours a day to.
Trying to get help.
All right, so she's working. The woman wants to go home. She gets so agitated that she is threatening to call the cops because she does not belong there. So I'll give you one more piece where Beth is asking a question of Lori. Sorry, I should have had these queued up. Everything is slow now.
Expecting me. I got to get to the game. They're waiting for me with the tickets, and I got to get my cousin, and they're all coming in town, and we're all going to make our food, and she's got to get home to make the food.
Get home. So that it's your answer kind of put my question in the who am I in the past puzzle piece, who I am as a person, and then my history. So as Tipa's pulling that up, we're still kind of filling out this more about me sort of thing. So you guys have done, it sounds like a great job, as many places have, of trying to identify what are some things that someone enjoyed, what do they identify with, you know. And Ohio State and those colors and the O and everything would be a big visual for her, but that's changed because now rather than reminiscing about the games, it actually gives her a sense that she is not where she should be. Is that correct?
That would make total sense. Yeah.
So while that's not always the trigger, that can be the trigger. Is that accurate as well?
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So her part of her habit is not.
Okay, so then Tipa went and showed her screen here, and this brought everything to pointed to me as something that is a product that I was actually helping build a web page for at the same time that I'm editing this, and that was the Creative Solutions product. And what Tipa had on her screen, I think, was an original version of this worksheet that she used. So that's where I started to see, oh, she has another model that incorporates this 6 pieces as a puzzle, brings it all together. You start reflecting and understanding. And even as I was editing this and we get to the end, which I'm not going to tell you what our suggestions were, you're going to have to go watch that video. But when we got to the end, you know, there were a couple of suggestions, and the not the solution, but those suggestions were all very evident, you know, and it was like, how could you be in the middle of this and know everything that's going on, but still not be able to see what's right there in front of you, right? You need help to help pull things apart, take you out, like close your eyes, just like you were saying, Judy, close your eyes and listen to what's happening around you. And all of a sudden, sometimes as you ask the question, you immediately start to create the answer, like, oh, it was a great aha moment for me, just as from a consultant, coaching, and training perspective. So what else did you guys notice or not notice?
I certainly noticed that part, that last video with Beth pointing out about that, who we were, and bringing up the sports team. And I think it was Iowa.
Ohio State.
Ohio. It was Ohio State. And how she was using that in that moment as if it was, it wasn't that I wanted to go see the game. It's I need to go somewhere, but this is my this is my way of going somewhere that's different, and how seeing that person and their past and bringing that piece up as what it is in that moment, that's like, I need to get out, and it's because of this. This is why in that moment, but not seeing, where does that fall with where she's at in her life, and that those pieces there. So that's one thing I noticed, especially with Beth using that, the puzzle piece.
Right.
I noticed too that, thinking kind of along the same line of the team concept, is that Teepa could do this by herself, right? She doesn't necessarily need to have all of you guys on it. But even as awesome as Teepa is, she realizes that we each have skills that we can bring to the table. And so while Beth is answering, or doing the questions and reflect with that participant, other team members can do other things. We always make the comparison, dementia isn't a single person sport. And same thing, that we really believe in teams so much. And so knowing what was going on, because you had given us this glimpse, Carrie, of what's actually going on behind the scenes, that Matthew's going crazy on chat, that, all these things are happening, that even Teepa says, I could do this alone, but it's better with a team. And something's going to shift or suffer or something if I try to do this all on my own. So I was seeing a little bit of a different side of it. I hope maybe that's not where you were wanting to go, but that's what I noticed.
Yes, I do. I noticed that the team approach is definitely something I think Teepa wants to highlight. In our second or in the March session, she was very specifically saying, okay, I'm going to hand it over to the team and have them start asking questions, like this is a process. And she's teaching all of us mentors on how to do this. And she wants to teach everybody, how to solve their problems, because you have to be able to do that in the moment in order to move forward. And then those things that are getting really stuck, then you come and ask Teepa anything, or come and get some consulting and get a team approach in there, I think is kind of what we're trying to highlight here. So excellent. So our next event, actually next Wednesday, we have Ask Teepa Anything. And then the third Wednesday of April, we'll have the dementia problem solving. So that is the 7th and the 21st. If you want to send us questions, I did not prepare for that. If you want to send questions to Ask Teepa Anything, it's ata@teepasnow.com. And then the problem solving is dps@teepasnow.com. And I'll put the links into our site so that you can see the dates. Register for Ask Teepa Anything, or just send us questions for either one, and we will answer them online for you guys. Anything else you want to add, Matthew?
Yeah, and that's awesome. I threw the actual email addresses into the chat for YouTube, so those are on there, guys. Please send us your questions. Send us what you are seeing out there. We would love to help support you guys in any way that we can. And another way that we love to support everybody out there is also on our website. And so going into our website, you guys will be able to find that calendar of events and look for like the sign up for ATA. But one thing about that DPS is it's actually a bit different. There's no registration for that. With that one, depending on the questions that come into Dementia Problem Solvers, we'll pick some folks who have sent us those questions, and we'll dive deeper into those questions, and then we bring those folks on. So on that one, it's mainly just watching from either YouTube or Facebook, versus ATA. You can register for that, and you can actually come on to the Zoom room with that registration. So that's one big difference with that. But going back to that support piece, so many materials out there, so many different courses and ways. One big way that we recommend for a lot of people right off the bat who are just getting into this whole world of PAC is those champion courses. So Friday, starting off with that champion one, we always go back to that saying, what's the best way to eat an elephant? One little bite at a time. So those champion courses, they give you that little bite. They give you that dipping the toe into the water, some exposure to what PAC has to offer. It's a great way to kind of start your journey with what PAC has. But then as it goes up, there's other different places, whether it's in the store with the webinars or the online learning pieces or the licensed materials, which for those licensed materials, getting the trainer certification or the coaching certification or the consultant certification, that would be another one of those steps that you guys can get that information or get more exposure, getting something to use to go out there and actually help folks get this awareness and skill that you are getting yourself and that you want to help spread, just like TIPA's doing with ATA and that DPS. So you can get on the website, you can get on the calendar, and you can find all the events on here when it comes to looking for ways to get more of that knowledge. And then the certified community, you guys out there, going back to last week's episode where we have the certified community page, you can get on there, you can look for that Zoom link for open doors on Fridays. And for all you folks who are working during the day, you can't make it in the middle of the day, this Thursday is our late night session. So from 9 to 10 Eastern is that late night session for you certified folks who are wanting to go try some of your skills out, be able to ask questions or try to get more information. So that's another thing you guys can do to help build those skills, build more skill and awareness in what you're doing. So those are all great ways that we can offer, or that PAC offers, to help everybody out there, whether you're a certified community member who is certified and trying to get more, or you're somebody who's just getting into the PAC world or has kind of been in there but are looking for more things.
Yeah, there's so many free offerings, and Judy had mentioned, when it's not the right time of day for some of us, every single day, Tipa is up way before I want to talk to anybody, and she is live at 5. So many offerings for us to take those little bites of information and learn from Tipa and the team. So thanks for bringing that out, Judy and Matthew. And Carrie, thanks for helping us understand a little bit more the difference between some of the PAC offerings. So nice job. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week. Thank you, Judy, for all the wonderful work you're doing and for being our highlight tonight to share your shine. Keep up the good work.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.